Welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, November 29th, 2016. I'm Lafern Fraser with the details. An eastward moving trough system has impacted St. Vincent and the Grenadines overnight, which produced heavy showers resulting in flooding and landslides in several areas, mainly to the northeast and northwest of mainland St. Vincent. St. Vincent and the Grenadines was placed on a flood warning from 6 p.m. on Monday, November 28th to 12 noon, Tuesday, November 29th. This was, however, extended until 6 p.m. today. SVG-TV's Barvin Oliver provides us with an analysis of the situational report issued by the National Emergency Management Organization earlier this evening.
The Grenadines was placed on a flood warning 6 p.m. yesterday, Monday the 28th of November 2016 to 12 noon today, Tuesday the 29th of November. This was extended until 6 p.m. today. The St. Vincent and Grenadines Meteorological Office recorded approximately 2 inches of rainfall at the E.T. Joshua Airport between 6 a.m. and 12 p.m. today. Rainfall data from the Central Water and Sewage Authority (CWSA) indicates that Spring Village received 5 inches of rainfall between midnight and 9 a.m. this morning. In Vermont, 3 inches of rain, Congo Valley 7 inches, and South Rivers 5 inches of rainfall during that period. The government of St. Vincent and Grenadines yesterday declared that all schools be closed, with only essential workers to report to work at 6:55 a.m. A preliminary report indicates that shelter has been provided for 30 persons, with 15 homes destroyed and 20 damaged. There has so far been no reports of death. The report also indicates that there has been 15 reported landslides, 8 damaged bridges, and 8 damaged roads. The Roads, Bridges and General Services Authority are conducting assessments and cleanup operations. The Central Water and Sewage Authority (CWSA) reported that all systems north of Rabaca Dry River have sustained extensive damage and are without water. The Hermitage area is blocked in North Leeward, whilst the St. Vincent Electricity Services has reported that areas north of the Rabaca Dry River and Hope/Vermont are without electricity. Electricity poles were washed out in the areas of Mount Young and Perseverance. The intake and hydro stations in Richmond is blocked, and part of the pipeline at Cumberland broke due to landslide. Barvin Oliver, SVG Television Evening News.
The Sandy Bay area on the windward side of the island seemed to be the worst affected, where a number of houses and bridges were destroyed. Area Representative Montgomery Daniel provided us via a telephone interview with a synopsis of the situation there.
So we have lost 3 bridges so far. We have lost other infrastructure in terms of road damage. We have lost approximately pretty close to 2 dozen houses so far. There are some pretty close to 15 families at the moment in the shelters. So that somewhere in the region of around 55 to 60 persons are in the shelters at the moment. The roads are still completely blocked. We cannot get out of Sandy Bay. And this, at this point in time, is mid-evening, so that access is really difficult at this time. I'm hoping that BRACSA will be able to, with its heavy schedule, to try and assist as much as possible, whereby that we can have access out of here even by tomorrow.
Daniel says at the moment the North Windward area is without essential services such as electricity and pipe-borne water, and that life is a bit difficult at this time for many residents of the area. The London Cemetery in the Sandy Bay area was also affected by floodwaters, and the North Windward MP says the situation there looks grim.
The London playing field, which is enclosed, part of the enclosure broke away last night, and the water which was holding onto the playing field, went across the road and went into the cemetery and would have eroded many graves, to the extent that you are seeing 1 or 2 coffins being exposed. So that's how critical things would have been. There's little we can do at this point in time because of the accessibility. We are hoping that as we can remove this stuff from the road that is lodged being put on the road by all of the land slippages and so on, that we'll have enough material that we can then put back onto the cemetery. But as it is at the moment, there's very little we can do.
Minister Daniel points out that this is the worst he has seen in his lifetime of the destruction caused in the area by floodwaters.
Though I can say that the recurrence of 2011 April flood, where the northern section of this country had been affected. The damage was not as what it is now. We have more houses affected, we have more bridges, we have more of the infrastructure damage, and therefore it's much more than what I've ever seen before.
What would you say though in terms of words of encouragement now? Because I mean, to the residents in that area who have experienced loss in terms of damaged properties and so.
Well, I've been asking those who got damaged to ensure that they go to the shelter because the rain is still coming here, and to make sure that all matters have been reported to NEMO. Because NEMO is the institution that we have to channel all of this information so that we can have a fair understanding and a fair idea as to what are the levels of damage, and of course to the different ministries as to what action we can take, from here on.
Emergency personnel, including those of the RSVG Police Force, the National Emergency Management Organization NEMO, as well as crews from Buildings, Roads and General Services Authority BRAGSA, have been working tirelessly to ensure the safety of Vincentians as well as initiate critical repairs to damaged infrastructure. Speaking with SVG Television News Team, Acting Prime Minister Sir Louis Straker assured the nation that the government is doing its utmost to ensure the safety of Vincentians and called for unity and solidarity during this time of emergency. At the site of a damaged bridge in the Rabica area, Sir Louis highlighted some other infrastructure which were also damaged.
Well, we have been affected by storms similar to this one. We had 2013 Christmas Eve, and after that we've had quite a few floodings. We have come through all of these storms with the goodwill of the people and with the hard work of the government, and we would come through this one again. We have been greatly affected by this trough that has been sitting on us now for the past maybe 12 hours. I spoke to my colleague, Honorable Montgomery Daniel, who is the representative of the area north of us here, and he has said that practically he's landlocked because of the situation up there. A lot of damages to houses, landslides, flooding, etc.
Also speaking to our news team at Rabica was Minister of Transport and Works, Julian Francis, who stated that work crews and equipment have been mobilized to begin the cleanup exercise and repair operations in those areas which have been severely impacted. Francis adds that motorists would, for the time being, no longer be able to use the old Argyle Road as the temporary installed bridge there was also damaged.
Wait until the floods subside and then get the work rolling. So there's be some areas blocked off. North Leeward seemed to be pretty bad as well. The central part of the island, Argyle River came down naturally from Yambu. And the bridge we have at Argyle, which is the metal one that we opened last week, Thursday, reopened for traffic. One abutment was, well, it subsided about 10 inches or so and cracked, so we decided we'll take that abutment back out and rebuild it. So they've taken the decks off, the metal decks, and so traffic is now going back through Mespo, Peruvian Vale, Calder. I believe within 24 hours we should be able to have that back in operation. I left 2 excavators there working. But there's significant damage. It's going to be millions of dollars worth of repair work and cleanup work, and not an exact replica of 2013, but many similarities.
Senator Francis also appeals to the general public to exercise great caution during this time of emergency.
Don't flood the area where work is being done. Don't crowd it. Police is helping us out here with the traffic. There are a lot of people who like to sightsee on the day after the storm, or including the storm. Drive carefully on the roads. The roads are wet. There's a lot of small landslides. It's slippery. Follow the traffic and be considerate of each other on the road until we get you back to normal. The BRAGSA is deployed. We had a piece of equipment standby at E.T. Joshua. There was no need for that now because there's not a significant flooding down there. We're mainly concentrating on this area, trying to get this, because as you know, we have one main institution across here, which is the mental health facility, and we have to get meals to them. They got them across this morning by hand.
Meanwhile, Acting Director of the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, Michelle Forbes, is issuing a warning to the general public to keep indoors as the nation continues to experience periods of heavy rainfall. On radio today, Forbes noted that numerous landslides and overflowing rivers have damaged roads and bridges, mainly in the northern areas of the island.
We would have had heavy rains in the north part of the country, which means the northeast and the northwest part of the country. What we're having now is the rains now moving through the middle part of the island. We can expect more heavy rains into this early afternoon. We have had reports of flooding already in Rosebank, Darkview, Sandy Bay, Oweir, Vermont, some areas of Georgetown. We are asking all residents along riverbanks in almost the major rivers in mainland St. Vincent to exercise caution. Do not wait until the rivers have started to overflow to evacuate to higher ground. We have the shelter managers have been on standby since yesterday in the event that we needed to activate the emergency shelters. That was done by the Ministry of Education. We know that there are landslides in Sandy Bay, so persons from Fancy Down would not be able to pass.
Forbes urged persons to remain vigilant and to take advisories seriously as a flood warning was still in effect for SVG.
Exercise caution. If you don't have to be on the road, I would advise not to be on the road, especially in those areas that can be flooded. And we can expect landslides as the rainfall continues. We only have had landslides so far, mainly in Sandy Bay and some in Darkview. But we can expect once the rains continue that we are going to have some landslides. So I want everybody to take all precaution. We have had the flood warning on for the over 24 hours since yesterday afternoon. The flood warning has been on, and want persons to take it seriously. Some is still going to affect us for the next couple of hours. We can expect up to 5 inches of rain, maybe more in the mountainous areas, because it has been raining in the mountains since in the wee hours of the morning. And the rains will continue, and of course we expect the rivers will actually be filled and the high water level. So persons, stay off the road if you don't need to be on the road. Exercise caution. We expect the rains for the next few hours, and the flood warning remains in effect.
Frequent disasters are a result of man-made climate changes around the world. That's the view expressed by Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, who is currently in Havana for the funeral commemoration of the late Fidel Castro. The Prime Minister called in on radio today to express his sympathies to those affected and says he stands in solidarity with them. The Prime Minister said the damage and losses that have occurred over the past few weeks due to severe weather conditions may accumulate to millions of dollars. He further urged Vincentians to stay focused and work together to find a solution to bring things back to normalcy.
God doesn't give us more than we can bear. Morning by morning, new mercies we see. And all that we need, the Lord's hand has provided. Great is His faithfulness. I know that the state agencies are working very hard, and I know individuals would be working hard to restore whatever damage done to the property. And when we get the full assessment, we will address, as always, in a very structured manner, the reconstruction, not only for this one, but for the several which have taken place over the last 7 or so weeks.
Although there may be damage to the older bridges, Prime Minister says the government plans to redouble their reconstruction efforts.
As always, we will redouble our efforts and reconstruct and make things better, stronger, as we have done, for instance, with the bridges. We note that at Montjong, we have built that bridge. We haven't formally opened it yet, so it's open for traffic, vehicular traffic. It's been raised, it's built stronger, the abutments and everything. I'm hoping that we can salvage the Bailey Bridge below, which has been washed away part of the way going down the river. We're in the process of dismantling that because we have to have it located elsewhere. The plan was to put it at the back road at Argyle. But we will have solutions. And we have to work with people, and the people have to work with each other, and we have to be in solidarity with one another, always. and we just keep our focus.
The Prime Minister plans on returning home tomorrow. This is the 6th weather event that has affected the nation since Tropical Storm Matthew approximately 7 weeks ago. Meanwhile, newly appointed opposition leader and president of the New Democratic Party, Dr. Godwin Friday, also appeals for Vincentians to take extra precautions at this time.
Much rain in the last several weeks that it doesn't take much to cause flooding and heavy runoff and landslides. You know, in Beckway it's more rocky here, so it's the risk of big landslides are less than on the mainland. But nevertheless, sometimes, you know, it happens. In the last rain we had, the road down in Friendship is still partially blocked because a back wall fell down and, well, not a back wall, a retaining wall fell down and it's still partially blocking the road. So if it happens there, the risk in the mainland would be even greater. So I urge people to be very, very careful about that and, you know, not put themselves into unnecessary risk and danger.
Very true.
To protect things that can be replaced. Life cannot be replaced. So our first priority has to be to protect human life, to make sure that everybody is safe, children in particular, to be kept safe, to stay away from areas where there's a risk. And we hope and pray that, you know, the system will pass without any loss of life. We know that there will be some property damage. We've seen it already. There will be landslides. We've seen some already, and there will be more reports of that. But most importantly, what we don't want to hear is the first person who has, you know, we've lost because of the weather conditions.
Highlighting that opposition MPs will be active in their communities to provide the necessary support, Dr. Friday expressed hope for no further damage or any fatalities.
They don't need any prompting from me because they do this in any event. To be out in the communities to see what the circumstances of the people in the areas, because they're there on the ground. They'll go out and see where there is damage, to see what assistance that can be lent, to bring the situation to the attention of the authorities and to advocate on their behalf to get assistance where it is necessary. We will be going around. I myself will go around to see for myself what the damage is. I've seen the photographs. That's one of the great advantages of social media. We can see instantly what is happening in the various communities, and right now I'm alarmed to see the damage that's already been done in some areas, you know, in Sandivan Overland and on the Leeward side and so on. There's a church apparently at Mount Young that has already collapsed, partially collapsed. These are they're you know, situations that will create anxiety on the part of our people, and we need to let them know that there's further risk.
Communications Officer of the St. Vincent Electricity Services Limited Vinlec, Tamara Job-Sprott, is reassuring the public that the company is working to restore electricity in all the affected areas. Job-Sprott noted that restorative measures are being enforced to ensure that electricity is available to all of their customers. However, she said due to road blockage in the North Windward area, their team is unable to get there to make assessments and repairs. She further appealed to all Vincentians here at home to remain safe and to take the necessary precautions.
So our appeal is to customers to keep safe. We have an emergency number that can also be used as a WhatsApp number, and that's 45-61540. So you can make your calls or you can send WhatsApp messages to that number. And as usual, we encourage persons not to touch down power lines and to stay away from transformers and from poles that are damaged.
And just before news time, Job-Sprott told us that residents north of the Rabica Dry River will have to wait until the roads become passable to vehicular traffic for their work crew to get into the area to restore power. She says hopefully this can be done by tomorrow. And we have an update from the Central Water and Sewerage Authority, the CWSA, who reported that all systems north of the Rabica Dry River have sustained extensive damage and are without water. The Hermitage area is blocked also in North Leeward. And a further update from the Met Office, a flood warning remains in effect for St. Vincent and the Grenadines until 8 a.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, November 30th, 2016. And this was issued by the Barbados Meteorological Services at 6 p.m. today, Tuesday, November 29th. As a result, schools will remain closed on Wednesday, November 30th, 2016. The Ministry of Education encourages staff, students, and parents or guardians to take every precaution to remain safe. The people of SVG do not have enough trust and support in the RSVG police force. That's the view shared by lawyer Roderick Jones as he spoke on last Sunday's edition of Easy Radio's T program on issues relating to crime in SVG. Jones stated that various reasons such as fear and a lack of confidence prevent some persons from giving evidence to the police when a crime is committed. He added that these situations allow for criminals to commit crime without fear of prosecution.
These guys obviously have calculated that, hey, I can get away with this crime even if I choose to commit it in the broad open. So of course we have to ask the question, why? I want to put forward for our consideration that these criminals are very much aware of the fact that a lot of people in St. Vincent and the Grenadines still mistrust the police, and they know that there's a pretty good chance that if they commit their crimes, it's not going to be reported. And I think that is they commit their crimes with comfort that they have a pretty good chance of not being criminally committed, because the crime may not be committed because of different reasons. Either people don't trust the police enough to give them information, or they don't think that even if the information was reported to the police, very much is going to come out of it. Okay. And that has been my personal observation.
Deputy Commissioner of Police Colin John said the RSVG police force is doing its utmost to combat crime in the country and that they are working to forge a better relationship with members of the Vincentian public. The Deputy Commissioner said the use of technology now makes it easier for members of the public to give evidence relating to a particular crime.
Through video evidence, right? We call the Witness Special Measures Act, which was, well, in conjunction with the Office of the DPP and the Attorney General's chambers, where persons can give evidence anonymously. That is the law in St. Vincent and the Grenadines now. I know a matter should be going to court very soon, where an application is made for that. Also, you can give evidence from behind a screen so that you do not have to face the person. You can also be outside of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And also there's a provision in the law where the deposition of a person can be used as his testimony in court. And so there are measures that we have put in place for that.
Chief Executive Officer of the SVG Tourism Authority, Glenn Beach, says all Vincentians must work together to ensure the country's tourism product is better than good. Speaking at the recently held Tourism Awards Ceremony 2016, hosted by the Ministry of Tourism, Youth and Culture and the St. Vincent Tourism Authority, Beach noted that SVG has made some strides in the tourism sector and expressed gratitude to the stakeholders who have been working with the authority to ensure that various standards are met. He further challenged all stakeholders in the sector to continue to raise their levels to compete with world-class destinations.
I can say that I would I would like to thank the stakeholders, because I think 3 years after its introduction and some discussions and some battles, that the partnership between the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Tourism Authority, the Ministry of Tourism, and the stakeholders has grown. And I think there's a better understanding of what we've been trying to accomplish with it. And so many of the stakeholders have now come on board and understand that we have to be better than good. That our competition is not simply Barbados, St. Lucia, Grenada, Trinidad, Jamaica, just to name a few of our neighbors. But our competition is the whole world.
The Tourism Authority CEO added that the marketing of SVG does not simply rest with the government, but with all citizens of SVG.
We have something that is special. We know that. But we have to let other people know it. And while a lot of times we speak about the government and why the government isn't doing this, I want to say this. If you come into St. Vincent and the Grenadines and you visit this destination, and you have a bad experience, whether it's at one of our sites or somewhere else, we get blamed. But if you have a bad experience at a hotel, the country gets blamed. If you have a bad experience with the taxi driver, the country gets blamed. And it's not so much about us laying the blame wherever, but understanding that this product belongs to all of us.
Meanwhile, Minister of Tourism Cecil Mackey said the ministry continues to be heartened by the number of tourist arrivals to the state and congratulated all persons within the sector for their hard work.
We have come to a point in the journey where we must all commit ourselves to do even more and to make the industry even better. Let us break it down, because as we go forward, we have to ensure that the commitment is there and the discipline is there. As individuals who provide service, while we have done well in 2016, we must say to ourselves, how can we do even more, even better for the year 2017? Because as individuals and providers of service, we have to understand that we are the front line of the industry and therefore ambassadors of the industry and the Vinci product.